Hey guys, Pete here. Today my Game of Thrones Season 8 video will be the Episode 3 official trailer breakdown. This has to be one of the darkest trailers they've ever released, so we'll brighten it up and we'll look at what goes on and see what we think. Before we jump in, I want to tell you about the Game of Thrones Amino app that has sponsored today's video. If you're unfamiliar with Amino, it's an app that's filled with global communities focused around fandoms, passions, and interests. The Game of Thrones Amino is the community I use the most, and I love how there is always a diverse collection of new posts in the feed. I also enjoy the fan-made quizzes about the show's characters, history, and lore. You can take a quiz and compare your scores with other members on the quiz's leaderboard. Lately, I've been having a lot of fun with the new stories feature where users can put together clips, music, and photos to broadcast a story about a Game of Thrones topic. I make a couple of these stories with unique content each week, and I think you should download the app so you can check them out. You can interact in my stories or make your own, but you have to download the app to get started. To check out my stories on Game of Thrones Amino, just click the link in the description or the pinned comment on this video and follow the prompts to download Amino for free on iOS or Android. Or you can download Amino by searching your app store, then searching for Game of Thrones once you're in. Remember, you can find me there by searching my username, PetePeppers.
The most heroic thing we can do now is look the truth in the face. The Night King is coming.
The dead are already here.
Okay, so we start out with some long shots of the Unsullied in formation, and then we see trebuchets, and we see the Dothraki on horseback. Nothing stands out here as being too surprising. We just see that they're ready for the battle. The recycled shot of Grey Worm donning his helmet comes next. We've seen this a couple times by now, so there's really nothing new to say about it. The next shot, however, is brand new. We see Jon and Daenerys from behind. They're on a hill overlooking Winterfell, and it doesn't look like there's fighting going on below them yet. We can imagine that dragons are involved with this, but we don't see them. We have a voiceover from Sansa who says, "The most heroic thing we can do now is look truth in the face." As it cuts away, we have a shot of Samwell looking ready to fight. He's surrounded by soldiers that you can't really make out. I think he's inside the walls because there's a torch in the shot behind the soldiers, and even though he looks as vicious as Sam can look here, I think it makes more sense for him to stay inside the walls based on the fact that he isn't the warrior type. After that, we get one of the clearer shots of the trailer and see Sansa and Arya on the walls. They're looking out with concern, and this goes along with the voiceover nicely. As with most of these shots of the characters we see, it looks like the moments right before the battle begins. Then we see a couple of clips that are recycled from the first Season 8 trailer, Davos walking along the walls looking deep in thought, and the shot of the crypts where we see Varys and the women and children gathered for protection. The next image is Tyrion in the crypts, which I don't remember seeing before. Since Daenerys gave him a direct order to stay in the crypts, I assumed this would happen, but he was obviously still outside at the end of episode 2, so stay safe, Tyrion. There's another recycled shot of Jorah outside the walls, and we get a voiceover from Jon saying the Night King is coming. Directly after that, we see the first image of Jon engaged in the battle itself. We have a few of these here, and we've seen a few in previous trailers. In this shot, there isn't anything you can see in the background except for that smoke or mist that we have seen in a lot of these shots. What stands out to me in this one is that Jon's breath is noticeable as he exhales. I tend to think that this image is related to where we saw Jon slashing in the second Season 8 teaser, but there's nothing to tell us for sure in this shot. Either way, it seems like they want us to notice Jon's breath here. After that, we get a wider view of the front of Winterfell. We see the formation from the front this time. This lines up with the map we saw in episode 2 during the War Council. We see that the Dothraki are out front, with the Unsullied behind them. We know that the trench they will catch on fire is behind that, like it would be behind where the Unsullied are. We see some northern soldiers on the right side of the screen, but can't see what I imagine would be the mounted Knights of the Vale in front of them. There is a shortened look at Arya running through the castle, which is part of what we saw in the opening sequence in the first Season 8 trailer. This is real short this time, and in this section she's just turned the corner, so we can't see anything behind her at all. There's a quick look at the Unsullied outside the gate. You can see what I was talking about before, like this cold mist that the White Walkers brings with them. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. Next, we see Beric and the Hound who are inside. Where they are isn't clear, but we see that Beric's sword's ablaze and the Hound has his new oversized dragonglass axe. In other trailers, we've seen these two inside with a lot of fire nearby. In those shots, they look like they've been fighting for some time. Here, they look pretty fresh, like you don't see them look like they're beat up yet. So if I had to guess, I would say that they're probably taking a role of protecting the crypts, just because we know that's a location indoors though. I mean, I can't make out anything from the layout that we see here. Next we see a dragon, which because this is so dark, I first thought, of course, this is the Night King in Viserion. The Night King's here, confirmed. This is going to get crazy. But after looking at it and messing with the brightness, I would say that it's actually not. I tend to think it's Daenerys on Drogon because of the coloring of the dragon itself, but you really can't tell. I'm not an expert in brightening these things up, and I haven't really seen an image online that does it really well either. So I'm kind of convinced that this was put in the trailer for that reason. Like, you really can't tell who's on the back. Like, the rider does not show up no matter what I do. There's points where I think maybe I see Daenerys's white hair, but it also looks like there's definitely a black cloak on the person who's flying it, so who knows. Either way, the dragon's wings look like they're intact rather than what we've seen with Viserion. He has the holes in his wings, so you guys can tell me in the comments what you think we see here. There's a quick transition sequence where we see more Unsullied, and then we get one of the truly interesting shots of the trailer. We see Theon Greyjoy shooting flaming arrows in the Godswood. Totally unrelated to this trailer and what's going on here, but it kicked in my memory of him bringing Sansa there for her wedding with Ramsay. Here, though, he's definitely doing what he said he was going to do in the last episode. You can see the weirwood branches behind him. I think in this shot, things still look reasonably under control, but there is fighting going on. I mean, at least he has a determined look on his face rather than one of sheer terror or panic. He doesn't yet look like they might be getting overrun by whites or something like that. Part of the reason why I find this image so interesting is because of how it might tie in with the next one, though. In the next shot, we see Jon again. We see him drawing his sword, and this doesn't appear to be related to any of the other shots of him fighting that we've seen so far. Here you can clearly see trees in the background, and that would mean he's at the Godswood as well. The initial response I had was, this is it. The Night King took the bait, and this is the beginning of their fight. It could be that, but as of yet, we haven't seen any actual evidence that the Night King has arrived. The grimmer idea that set in is that this might be a really difficult scene. What if Theon has been killed and is now white? This could be Jon getting ready to kill him. It's just an idea though, based entirely on the fact that they're in the same place and that it would make for a heartbreaking moment. Then we cut back to Jon and Daenerys where we saw them at the beginning of the trailer, and she says the dead are already here directly to him. This could be related to Jon saying that the Night King is coming as an answer to that, and that was my initial thought. Jon wants to wait to use the dragons to defend Bran when the Night King arrives, and Daenerys wants to join the battle now because their people are getting slaughtered in the field in front of Winterfell. Those seem like reasonable motivations for both characters. This shot is from a different angle though, so you can't see what's going on in the distance at all. Still, I think this is the most likely scenario that's happening. They made a plan in episode 2. We know what that is. Jon wants to stick to it because it's Bran in the Godswood, and he knows how important it is to defeat the Night King. Daenerys is having trouble watching her army be wiped out and wants to change the plan and take action. There is an alternate idea which seems to be popular out there, that she's talking about the dead inside the crypts. This doesn't seem likely to me for a couple of reasons. Sure, it's a popular idea that the Night King will raise the dead in the Winterfell crypts. If he could raise the dead from anywhere, why not just raise every dead person in every grave in Westeros, let them destroy all the living people, and just sit back and wait until it's over? Also, if this was just a planning mistake and that they weren't thinking about it and they decided to put all the innocents in the crypt with generations of dead bodies, which of course they did, what could have happened at this point to make Dany think about this right at this moment? So to me, this seems like a strategic conversation based on the severity of the battle. You guys can tell me what you think in the comments. Final shots of the trailer are on the battlefield. We see Sir Brienne with Sir Jaime by her side. We can see the sigil of the veil on the soldiers directly behind her, and we hear her shout, "Hold your ground." This is pretty straightforward based on what we learned about her role in the battle in episode 2, what we've seen on the map, all of that. It's chilling to see Jaime out front with her, and it looks like they're getting ready for the first wave of the Army of the Dead's attack. I guess that's not a big surprise. We know these two are warriors, that they're going to go down fighting if they go down, but it's still a little bit crazy to see what we're in for in the next episode. The trailer ends there and we are ready to go. So for what's hyped up to be the most epic battle scene ever filmed, this trailer doesn't fill in many blanks. It does set the stage for what we know is coming, and it's feeling pretty real at this point. The big thing that's missing here is the Night King himself, and that has led to a lot of speculation. Of course, we didn't see him lined up with the other White Walkers at the end of episode 2, and people have been talking about that ever since. Primarily around the idea that he won't show up at Winterfell at all, and that he has another plan in mind. I think to really look at that idea, I need to make a separate video, so my plan is to do that next. What we do see here is that Jon and Daenerys start out away from the action, which follows the plan we watched them arrive at in the last episode. We see that they're going to have a hard choice to make, and that they may disagree on what they need to do. We see that Jon will definitely be in the thick of the action on the ground before too long, and that one of the dragons will be involved in some capacity. Since I want to make another video to explore what the Night King might be doing and whether or not he might show up before the Battle of Winterfell is over, I'm going to leave it here. I know the popular theory going around that I keep seeing in my comments anyway is that he'll go south while his army is attacking Winterfell. For me, that doesn't make sense for a couple of different reasons, but I want to take a closer look at that conversation that's going on around that before I get into it. So that's it for today. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about the trailer, so let me know in the comments. Did I miss anything? What do you think's going on with Jon and Daenerys? Who will live and who will die? Let me know what you think. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you want more regular Game of Thrones videos throughout the rest of season 8. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you soon.